So what's your favorite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it ever? Where did all the other weeks know? Oh, forget it. Soren, Bowie, Daniel O'Brien, two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.
So, hello again, and welcome to another episode of Quick Question with Soren and Daniel, the podcast where two best friends and comedy writers ask each other questions and give each other answers. I am one half of that podcast, senior writer for Last Week Tonight, with John Oliver, author of How to Fight Presidents, and at the moment, hiatus boy, once again, the once and future king of doing nothing, Daniel O'Brien, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Soren Bowie. Soren, say hello.
Hello, I'm Soren Bowie. I'm a writer for American Dad. It's occurring to me now that this is a great show. This is a great show.
That's occurring to you now?
Just now. This is a great show. What I'm really liking is that it's a conversation between two best friends.
Yeah.
It's always a conversation between two best friends. You're sitting in on the party line between two friends who live on opposite sides of the country, and as they catch up with each other's lives.
Yeah.
Now, in an ordinary conversation, stuff comes up all the time in my life where then I'm like, oh fuck, I learned something, or there was like a nugget I want to like check back in on. And I've got no cataloging feature from the conversations that I've had for my own oral history. So I think that's also true of this show. There's no conceivable way if you heard something on the show that you liked, you'll never find that again. That's just going to exist in your mind because we can't title these episodes in a way that's helpful, because we talk about all kinds of stuff on every single episode. It moves from like us talking about home repair to being hit by a car, and then on top of that, there's within like what we're saying to each other, there's no like you can't get like a transcript or something like that. There's just no way to ever conceive of like finding something that we previously said here, and I think that's beautiful.
We've found that with the show that I worked for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Catch it now in reruns. We find that with like specific jokes that become canonical jokes, like certain wells that we can go back to, and how disconnected most of the jokes are from whatever the topic of the show is. They'll be like, what? Someone will be searching for something. It's like, we did a long run about how John wants to be not like fucked by an adult-sized lobster, but like pinched by an adult-sized lobster, and there's something sexual about it. When did we do that? What was the context? It was like, oh, that was our episode about COVID vaccines. Of course it was.
Right. You're never gonna. What you need is somebody on staff who is the elder, like the encyclopedic elder, who just knows everything, and they have this cataloging ability in their brain. So like we have somebody like that on our show. Shout out to Parker Day, who I would not call an elder because he's not like an old man or anything, but he's been on the show, I think, longer than anybody. He started as a PA, and now he's here. Now he is an EP on the show. Excellent. PA to EP, that's a show. And he knows everything. He knows every single thing, and he loves the show. So like if we were in the room and you're talking about like, God, it would be really fun if we could do an episode where Stan wants one of Steve's friends to be his buddy. Like Stan wants one of Steve's friends to be his son. Like he's cheating on Steve. And you're like, okay, that's fun. Like, but I feel like I've heard it before. Let's go check in with the elder. And you go to Parker and you're like, did we do this? And he's like, yeah, it's this episode. I think we did it in season, let's see, Weber was here. So season 12. And you're like, oh shit. Okay, great. Thanks. And then you look at it and you're like, yeah, we're not doing that.
That Parker's path reflects a trajectory in television that is so foreign to me and seems like it doesn't exist anymore and never will again. But I remember going to see the writer Brian Cogman talk, and he had written some fantastic episodes of Game of Thrones and a few other, I don't know what he's doing now, but he's just a very good writer. And he was talking about how his job in the Game of Thrones writer's room for a while, he just noticed that he wasn't a writer. He might have been a writer's assistant or a PA, but he just happened to notice that like between the lore of the book and the lore that they'd built in their own world, their own adaptation
Yeah.
of the book. No one was really keeping track of anything. So he, for a while, was just a guy who was like aware of all timelines, knew physically where everyone was in Westeros, and knew what all their family sigils were. Was just like the keeper of information, just like the living encyclopedia for the show, and making himself useful that way. And then eventually the creators were like, man, you're so helpful. All right, you can write an episode. And it's just like they threw
an
a
episode.
mind-boggling thing to me.
That's great. Here's the thing that happens regularly on our show that really is tough to track is that we will come up with a room joke, like a joke in the room that we're really into. When we come up with this joke, we generally try to get it in the script because it's making us laugh. But a lot of times, like, it won't end up in the script because so much ends up on the floor, right? And then you can't remember canonically whether that stuck around or not, because you're not also working on the same episode the whole way through. So maybe like an episode came through, you were in the breaking of it, you came up with a joke. This is a good example of this is we really wanted Roger to drive a bang bus. And for
Excellent.
Roger to want to, like, he's constantly looking in the rearview mirror and like trying to get in on the action, but no one has invited him to the back of the bang bus yet. But he's like trying to work his way up. And so he's being very patient about it, but also kind of like getting a little frustrated that his ceiling is so low. And so we had so many jokes about that, and like on that run. The episode that it was for, it never ended up in. But, you know, that group of people who then they worked on like the rewrite of it is not the same people who came up with the original idea. So that group of people who came up with the original idea are like, okay, so we know that Roger's been on a bang bus. Let's put him back on the bang bus. And then you have this throughout the whole history of the show, it gets lost in terms of what was the stuff that caught fire in the room and what actually made it to the show. And there are times where you'll be working on something and all of a sudden everyone will go, oh, shit, you know what? I don't think we've ever even talked about this on the show. I don't think the audience is broadly aware of this at all. And
We
we're like,
know
okay.
that.
And it's such a bummer because once you build the history, then you get to play the game. And now you got to go back and do the dirty work of building the history again. And so like, I think at this point, I'm pretty sure there is a B story in one of the episodes where Roger is the driver in the bang bus and
That's
doesn't
good.
get invited back. And then like they pick up a new kid and Roger's like immediately with a modicum of power is like lording it over this kid, but the kid immediately gets fighted in the back and Roger is losing his mind. But it's very fun to have these things that, well, I shouldn't say fun. It's actually very frustrating. But
Sure.
these things that are fun in the room, and then you're like, fuck, I'm not even sure if that's ever even made it. We talk about it all the time. Haley loving basketball is another one.
Yeah.
Haley on the show for so long. It started with an episode where in the closet, for whatever reason, the artist had drawn a basketball in Haley's closet, and we were so tickled by that it was so antithetical to who she was on every level that we were like, she loves basketball. And then from that point on, like whenever there was a dead, like you're in the room and you're trying to think of a pitch for a joke that's got Haley in it, guaranteed there's a basketball joke in there, to the point where suddenly Haley just started loving basketball. And it became just like a part of her ethos that she's like really into basketball.
We have two very strange canon things at my show, and one of them is something that I started writing into scripts years ago when we would get, in my mind, a little bit wonky and a little bit sort of bogged down by stats.
Yeah.
I would have a character in the audience named David from the audience who would shout out things to John, and it was sort of my way of making fun of the show. It never got on the air, but it would be like John Oliver would be at his desk and he would say, and this is the largest country in blah, blah, blah. And then David from the audience would say, my population or land mass, my population or land mass. It's like these because they were always like inspired by actual corrections that we would point out on the show. Like John would say, this company brought in $15 million. That's equivalent to the GDP of Chad or whatever. So like I would cut off that's equivalent with someone from the audience saying like, now say it in GDPs. Thank you. Say it in population of this, just like weird,
Right.
wonky stuff.
People who want something weird that you have to do anyway.
Yeah. My bosses were really tickled by the idea of it. Not enough to put it in the show ever, but it's now like every single rewrite features one of my bosses jumping into the character of David from the audience, shouting at the rewrite
Wonderful.
screen and
That's
just playing with it. Enough that like new writers have come on and they're like, hey, what are they doing? What is this? What does it mean? Are we supposed to play too? And it's like, no, it's just like a fun thing that we do to that at some point I'll be gone and no one will know what we're talking about anymore.
Right. One of the early landmines that I stepped on in our show was there's a writing team that now is broken up, but there was a writing team who famously had bad titles for their episodes. Like they
On
would
purpose?
I don't think at first, but then they steered into the skid a little bit, where like they understood the role that they were now playing, and everything. I think they tried after that, but like bad. They early on they were trying, and it just like it's. First of all, no one gives a shit about the title, except it has to be so egregious for everybody to be like, well, hold on, what? And like try and figure out what they're trying, what the pun is, or what it's supposed to be. So they had bad titles, I guess. I didn't know this coming in. I'm just trying to learn the job. Nobody's telling you how to do the job. You're learning from watching everybody around you. You're like a baby bear watching its mom. Like, oh, that's how I find berries. So this script came in. Everyone on the thread for the script starts like shitting on the name and like coming, like they're like, you didn't even think of this or you didn't think of that. And I was like, oh, we're coming up with a new name for this episode. So I'm just creating a list of names for the episode, and
they're going to call on me and I'm going to be ready.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not going to send all of these. So I was like, what's my favorite one? And I was like, what about this? And then somebody from the show messaged me privately and they're like, what are you doing? And I was like, I was helping. And they're like, no. This is what they named is the name of the episode. Stop trying to, what do you do? Yeah. Like that's not funny. Now you're being really hurtful by trying to give options that aren't getting.
Listen, new guy.
Yeah. You're being really hurtful. You should probably apologize to them for offering something that you think is better. Early on, there was like all kinds of stuff at the show where I was just like, and it happens to every single person. I've tried to now be very helpful as much as I can. When new people come to the show, I'm like, hey, this is how this part works. This is how this part works. But, stuff slips through the cracks for me, especially now that I've been on the show for so long. There's a guy that got hired. Shout out to Curtis Cook. Curtis came on the show, and we found out that we have a Halloween party, but it was over Zoom. And the Halloween party is not really a party. It's not something that the rest of the writers generally participate in.
Really? But it's over Zoom.
And it's also something that's for, I think that there are more administrative people on the show who would like do that with their kids or whatever it was. But the writers had never really gone to it. And you start to like learn those tacit things. Like, what do the writers go to? What don't they go to? What do we animate? What is like the artist? What is their thing? What is not their thing? And Curtis didn't know any of this, and we didn't talk about it in the room. And so he showed up. But also, I should preface this by saying that Curtis is, I think, 6'9". Curtis showed up to a Zoom in a Cookie Monster costume, giant Cookie Monster costume. And it was him and a bunch of kids, like people with their children, who then walked away from the computer so their kids could all talk. But like he didn't know. And then later he came to us. He's like, "Where were you guys?" We were like, "Oh, you don't go to that. What are you talking about?"
Oh,
all right.
Well. Hey, speaking of television, I got some stuff for you, Soren.
Oh,
I lied before.
Oh.
Just because it's a natural segue from television. It's something that I wanted to talk about. You were a big fan of Succession, right?
Hell yeah.
Now, what if I were to tell you about this show with Matthew McFadden from Succession, Tom Wamsgams, great actor.
Yeah.
He's playing Charles Guiteau in a stacked cast, including Michael Shannon, friend of the show Shea Wiggum, and Nick Offerman. It's about a real life assassination of a president. Sound
love
cool?
That sounds amazing.
It's already out, Soren.
Wait a second.
And Soren, you like Succession, right?
Hold on. I so regularly check the bus benches in my neighborhood, and that has never once been on there. I check it for the comings and goings of new shows.
It's called Death by Lightning.
Death by Lightning. That sounds incredible.
Eddie Gilpin in it, too. It's very good. 4-episode series on Netflix. Soren, you like Succession?
I do.
Bet you're wondering about Sarah Snook, Shiv Roy. She did a little departure. She went to Broadway for a while and crushed Broadway.
I do
And
know
is-
that Sarah Snook is in a show.
Oh, you do know that she's in a show. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that
that
was
has
going to be the
crossed my
next
plate.
part of this game.
Betty
Was
Gilpin?
what if I told you there was a show with Sarah Snook and Jake Lacey from White Lotus and Abby Elliott from The Bear,
I would like that as well.
and it's already out, Soren.
Wait. What is that it's her all her fault?
All her fault.
Yeah. Okay, that's the one I'm thinking of. I don't know the other Sarah Snook show.
That's the one.
Oh, okay.
You thought of the
were
right
saying
one,
there's
yeah.
two. Okay, great.
No. But I had these thoughts as I watched both these shows because I'm in the specific situation where my pregnant wife goes to sleep early, so I can watch whatever I want, and I'm like truly just what is new, what's on Netflix, what can I see anywhere, and that's how I found Death by Lightning, which is like the insane true story of Charles Guiteau shooting President Garfield and all of the corruption of the New York City comptroller at the time. Incredibly up my alley. Would not have known about it if not for this specific situation of scrolling around. And All Her Fault was similar. My wife and I watched that together in a haze of like, well, we'd watched all of the morning show that's available to us, and there's no Warriors game on tonight. So what is happening? And it's a show that I liked a whole lot. Everyone in it is very good. Michael Pena, always great to see him doing stuff. And
I do like him a lot. I love that little Scientologist.
I know. I know there's weirdness there that we don't want to get into, but it's like, I hope he's doing well. I think
he's genuinely a funny person.
the good thing about Scientology is it really feels like it's on its way out. And so like there's going to be a split where a bunch of people go really crazier, and then a bunch of people like move on to the next thing. And I'm hoping that he's on the correct side of this.
Yeah.
But anyway, I these shows, it seemed like pure magic in both cases that we found them, and it speaks to a larger thing about how I feel about our industry. We don't need to spend the whole podcast talking about our industry, but
I think
like,
people might actually enjoy that.
If this were 10 years ago, and I know it's not, but if it were, and you had a show like Succession, which was the Emmy-winning drama, dominant at the award shows, everybody loved all those people who were doing things in that show, and then you had the next television follow-up from two of the most important parts of that show, you'd know about it. It would be news. We would all know what Sarah Snook's new show was, or what Matthew McFadden's new show was. We would all know what Abby Elliott from The Bear was popping up in. And now these shows just get dropped on fucking Peacock, and they get thrown
Netflix,
into
right?
like the Netflix trending page, which is a mix of holiday movies and movies honoring Diane Keaton because she ate it recently. And also this like, what's this Death by Lightning show? It just feels so insane to me. I as someone who wants to make television, I feel out of my mind about like, if I make it so far that I create a show and it gets made, how do people find out about shows nowadays? If you're someone like Sarah Snook, and it just seems like you would have, there used to be systems, machines in place that would make sure people who knew and liked you would be made aware that you have a new show coming out.
Well, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. I'm out of control.
I think I've been thinking about this a lot as well, because I don't to like just reiterate what you've said, but it's a situation where it used to be that on the screens is how I would find out about new screen stuff. So it was like you're watching TV, there'd be commercials. You went to the movies and there would be trailers. Like I was so much more aware of trailers just 10 years ago than I am now. Trailers for shows, trailers for movies. But that's because you need screens in which to see those on, and like they need to be advertised to you. But I'm not watching broadcast TV anymore. Like I'm not seeing circumstances in which which commercials arise in my life anymore. So like the screens don't work for that purpose anymore, which is why I'm getting all my news from bus benches of the comings and goings of new shows. Like I don't know about any of this stuff until I'm finding out in like the most obscure, weird ways. Occasionally, like a billboard on a street I'm not even on, I'll peek over and I'll be like, "Oh, look at that! Clive Owen is in something new." And then and then if I have like the presence of mind, I will go seek it out. Like I read a book recently called Project Hail Mary, and I was like, "This book rules. This is very, very good. This should be a movie." It's been a movie, man. Everybody's excited about this movie. I had no idea that it was even going to be out. Like, I didn't know it was coming out.
It's so fun we get some cat content. I'm really sorry for our listeners, but there's a cat on Soren's screen. I think making a debut. That's pretty cool stuff.
Look at that little twitch she's doing with her body. I don't know even what that is.
There's going to be some like cat people who are like, your cat is extremely agitated. Stop talking.
So yeah, if you can't be like, hey, you like stuff on screens, apparently, because you're watching a screen right now. Here's some other stuff that's coming up on screens. Yeah. I don't know how you ever find out any information. I will find out about HBO Max shows because I suddenly watched Task 6 years too late or whatever, and I will find out, oh, there was some other stuff I really would have enjoyed. I guess I should go check that out.
I find out American Dad comes back when you tell me to, which is very useful for me. It cannot be the system. It can't. It's not how we used to know things, and it's wild to feel like I am simultaneously being advertised to everywhere in my life without exception. It's the most successful thing in the history of time has been advertising's ability to penetrate every surface of my life without being reined in. And I still don't get served the things that I would like to see.
It's still not customized for you somehow.
I'm not a Mark Wahlberg fan, but I'm a Shane Black fan, writer and director of Lethal Weapons and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and the other guys.
Monster Squad.
The nice guys, Monster Squad, of course. Iron Man 3. He's just a writer director that I've loved for a very long time. And I found out the day before a movie of his called Play Dirty. I found out the day before it was coming out that it was coming out straight to Amazon Prime, starring Mark Wahlberg and Lakeith Stanfield and Tony Shalhoub and Rosa Salazar, people that I know and like.
Yeah.
And it's based on a novel by Donald Westlake, whom I fucking love. And I'm just sitting around being like the perfect audience for this movie, and no one's telling me about it. I have to find it out from like a Vulture article that is like, this movie's not good. I'm like, whoa, there's a new Shane Black movie and it sucks.
All right, sign me up. I think there might be two things happening at once. One is that, it's harder and harder to reach an audience like us anymore. But also, I guess now that I think about it, I was actively searching that kind of thing out previously. The same way I would like hunt out new music. I would be like, what movies are coming out soon? And I would just watch a half an hour of trailers for upcoming movies and get like a sense of what was out. And I don't do that kind of thing anymore. I certainly don't have the time for that anymore. So I'm certainly not proactive. And so it has to be like passively given to me, which ads are supposed to be. But man, there's just no room in my life for ads anymore. I know where the ads generally go, and I've turned blinders onto those spots. And so I'm unreachable. I was just thinking, and when I said Task, I was like, oh yeah, how did I find out about Task? I liked an artist that came across my Spotify mix called Dan Deacon. And I was like, this guy's great. I'm going to go find more of his stuff. And I started listening to more Dan Deacon at the gym. Happened to get onto a song where I was like, this song's different than all the other ones. What is this? And I looked at it, and it was from a show called Task. I was like, what's this show called Task? And he does all the music for it. Found Task through Spotify. Like, that's not how it's supposed to work, I don't think.
No, that's not where the marketing spend for that movie went, for sure. It's as frustrating as it is for me as an audience member who is like who would genuinely love to find stuff that I'd like. I can't imagine how maddening it must be for the actors and writers and directors involved in this thing. If you're Sarah Snook and you're probably being very careful about your next move in your career, because a lot of people didn't know you. Then you did Succession. Now everyone knows you and everyone loves you. You're getting awards. It's great. You do a turn on Broadway in a one-woman show about Dorian Gray, and that's great. And everyone loves that. And there's Tony attention. And you must just think, like, in the old school way of things, that there's a way to manage your career correctly and pick the right movies, interesting projects, and do them. And then you spend all this time filming a fucking 8-episode show in
Prestige
Australia
television
that just gets dropped on Peacock. And it's just like, what, how do I get people to watch this thing? How does anyone get anyone to watch anything?
We've run into that. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for 7 or 8 years, right? Every single week.
You and me?
Yeah. I think for 7 years.
Woof.
I know. There are still people who are like, I see people show up, they find me on Blue Sky or whatever, and they're like, I didn't even realize you were here. Like, oh man, I miss the old days of Cracked. Are you guys doing anything now? I'm like, yeah, man, for a while, like, the same way where we can't reach any of that old audience. There's a bunch of people who were diehard Cracked fans who are now like, God, those were the days. Too bad all those people died.
Yeah. I think we didn't make it easy on them. I think not having websites, we didn't make it easy on them. It seemed like for a while Twitter was our websites, and now neither of us are on Twitter. And it was truly like, if you were my number one fan and you wanted to keep up with me, you had to see every single tweet I made. Buried in like jokes and reposts of articles was the one about how I no longer work for crack.com, and then eventually one about how I worked for Last Week Tonight, and then eventually nothing because I deleted my Twitter account. And you would have to have found the podcast the 1 or 2 times that I tweeted about it under duress.
Yeah. I mean, I do that with, it's how I live my life too. I get mad at these people who for living the exact same way I do, which is like, even with music, I will find a band that I really enjoy. They'll have an album that I think is absolutely perfect, and I'll be like, this is great. And I've been listening to it since 2008 or whatever. And then all of a sudden a new song of theirs will come across my plate. Somehow it's been fed to me. And I'm like, oh, it didn't even occur to me that they were still making music. That's great that they have a new album. And then I'll look, I'm like, oh, they have 6 new albums.
It's quite a few.
they've been busy.
It's rough. It's
hard out here for a pimp.
I listen to so many podcasts about our industry, and I read so many articles because it's our industry, and I try very hard to be like, don't turn it into another podcast where we talk about this industry falling apart.
Well, I see. Yeah. I don't know that it's the end of the industry by any means. It means I think this is a us problem, which I also think is not a great premise for a podcast. Is 2 old guys who are like, what is this? What is this? What is this? What is that? What is this? What is this other thing? How come I'm not hearing about these things? But I don't know. I think it's okay. I think the industry is going to be fine because people still do love long form content.
And I do expect to, the way that I've solved this problem is Thanksgiving's coming up. Yeah. And you can count on O'Brien's collectively to have watched a bunch of things to get around the table, see each other for the first time in months, to be like, Slow Horses, you watching Slow Horses? No. Lowdown, are you watching Lowdown? Lowdown's good. You gotta get up on Lowdown. Department Q? All right, see you guys next year.
Yeah. Did you see Weapon?
Soren, fucking watching Lowdown?
No, man, I'm not, but I love the idea of it. I'm a noir fucking fiend.
It's so good. Ethan Hawke is so goddamn cool. I can't even stand it. He might be one of the last, like, cool guys alive. This is the thought I'm having right now.
I can tell.
Because, like, cool doesn't really exist anymore as a concept.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Sure it does. You don't think Miles Teller is cool?
No, I think he's a scumbag.
Uh-oh. What did he do? Oh, okay. Here's another thing, is I'm also out of touch in terms of like who we've fucking gotten rid of. Who we've thrown out with the trash because they're bad news. Did he do some bad shit? You don't have to tell me what it is. Just give me a
I don't think he did bad
here.
shit. I think I've read enough articles and seen enough interviews with him where he just seems like kind of a douchebag. Not like we don't need to cancel him or send him to jail or anything like that. I was like, I think this guy's kind of a prick. I think.
Okay. All right. So not him.
No.
All right. So cool doesn't exist anymore. Miles Teller sucks. So cool doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Except Ethan Hawke is just like a cool guy. Wears the sunglasses and hat in that show, and he's like walking around. You know how movies work.
And you said this is a thought you're having just now?
Yeah. I know. It seems fully formed.
He's wearing women's sunglasses, as far as I know, in the show because he got beat up.
Yeah. He gets beat up so much. It's awesome.
Yeah. So
He's always getting into scraps.
Is it that he looks very comfortable in devastation on the show? Like he's just like comfortable looking like shit, and that's
he's
cool.
comfortable looking like shit. There's in the most recent episode I watched, he spends the night with someone, and it's the morning. He's still covered in bruises and bandages. He's in a white tank top. He's got like a real paunch in this show. He's got a gut. He's in this white tank top and tidy whities that no one wears anywhere anymore, and he is just like swaggering about the room and like just being cool and being loose and being comfortable with himself and like being romantic somehow. And he just fucking rules. I love Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, I guess I understand that. The people who are just like, despite their appearance, are still like insanely charming.
Yeah.
And confident. You're like, wow. But I love noir. Obviously, I talked about it on the show before. Connoisseurs will know that that's my shit. That's right up my alley. And I have taken a look at, I've seen like the opportunity has arisen where I'm like, oh, I could watch The Lowdown tonight. But I'm like, no, I'm going to save it. It's going to be one of those shows that I watch all at once. It's going to be great. You know what I am watching again? A show I hate, Rings of Power. But I'm trying to fucking catch up on the lore of Middle Earth because I don't remember all of it. And I'm reading my son Fellowship of the Ring.
Did they is there a second season of Rings of Power? This is what we are talking about, people. I used to know how many seasons there were of shows I didn't like. And now I'm completely in the dark.
Yeah. So that lore is so huge, and I'd forgotten that in Fellowship of the Ring, that's all it is. It's them walking and stopping every once in a while to talk about the fucking lore of Middle Earth, to talk about like the history of it. And everybody calls each other like Thrain, son of Dane, like that kind of shit where you're like, oh, okay, now I got to figure out who Dane is. And they're constantly mentioning where they're going. Like you're not provided a map at the beginning of this book. It's just like, hey, good luck. You're going to need to know where these mountains are compared to these mountains. You're going to know what the southern lands are. You're going to need to know all of these things. But I'm not going to give you any help. And so I'm like,
truth be told, I don't know exactly where they are either. You can't be wrong.
I'm just trying to get like a handle on what's going on. And you're introduced to people where you're like, oh, in the Silmarillion, this person's super important. That's why you're not getting any sort of anything here that's telling you like what they look like, who they are, because it's assumed that you already know. And I'm like, well, okay, all right, then let's fucking try this out. I'll do the back work. I'll do the backlog work. So I'm like, I come up with a character like Tom Bombadil in Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, okay, this guy seems important. He's obviously like hugely influential. He can touch the ring and it doesn't bother him. Got to find out about Tom Bombadil's history. Dan, nothing. Tom Bombadil is just this guy who runs across hilltops and sings the whole time. He's a fucking weirdo who wears like red. It talks about his yellow jacket and his red pants, and he's a lunatic. And he just runs across hilltops, saving people all the time, but contributes absolutely nothing to the story other than he gives the Hobbit some weapons.
The Game of Thrones books are like that too, with all the lore and all the details that I'm expected to remember. And this is some spoiler stuff for books and show, but and I might get it wrong, so maybe it's not a spoiler. But like in the show, Mance Rayder is definitely dead. We watch him die. In the books, it's less clear that he dies, and there's like the possibility that he'd switched places with someone who died in his place. And that's the kind of thing you need to keep in mind across decades of reading books. And then I get to I'm in like a caravan with a bunch of soldiers, and the book will linger on like, oh, there was this person over there with their beard, and then there was this stranger with the long gray beard and the hat strumming a lute. End of chapter. And I'm like, who had
Oh yeah. Oh God.
who had a
damn it.
lute? Someone else played lute all the time, and the book wants me to remember that, and I don't know. Oh, it's Mance Rayder. Okay, all right.
Oh,
Okay.
where's my notebook?
Where's
I
Brian
have-
Cogman? Brian at Cogman. Who is Lute?
Who is Lute? So, I mean, not to get too in the weeds on this, but I thought fucking
Buddy.
the King of the North killed Mance Rayder. Like they had to in a fight. Wait, how did Mance Rayder die?
In the show he surrendered his army when Stannis and his army came. And
okay.
Jon Snow and Stannis teamed up, and Mance Rayder was like, I don't want any more of my people to be killed. And Stannis took him hostage, or took him prisoner. Was like, you can bend the knee. All of your people who bend the knee are welcome in my army, and you can be free men. But you got to fight for me. And Mance Rayder was like, this is my whole thing, is I don't bend the knee. I will not kneel.
Okay.
And so they're like, all right, then we're going to burn you to death. And so they tied him to a big pole, and they lit a fire to burn him to death. And that's a rough way to go. And so Jon Snow took an arrow and shot him through the heart while he was
That's
burning to
right.
death, as a kindness.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure Jon Snow kills Mance Rayder. I didn't know why that was in my head, but yeah, I also have not found my notebook that tells me everything I need to know about
Yeah.
that book. Yeah, I felt the same way about The Witcher. I did not play any of the Witcher games. The first season of The Witcher came out, and I was like, I didn't realize that this was my shit, that I was a nerd. I'm loving this. And then like the next season came out 2 years later or whatever, and they're like, hey, remember all those places that you already know from the game and from the last season? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, tough shit, because you're going to have to know them. It's very important. It's load bearing that you know where everything is geographically in this show.
Can I ask you, as a non-viewer of The Witcher, are you still watching The Witcher?
No.
Oh, okay. Damn.
No.
Because in headlines I'm seeing, as I'm just like desperately trying to find out what shows that I might like are out in the world, the headlines I come across are that Henry Cavill is not Witcher anymore,
Right.
and it's Liam Hemsworth.
Yes, I did know that.
I was just curious if you knew, if it's like, is anyone returning from the cast? Is it a brand new character who is also a Witcher? Is he taking over the role? Like what? Like,
yes. Is he taking over the role in the same show, or is this a new show following a new person? Or is this a complete revamp?
Right. Is it a revamp? Are there lots of The Witchers, or are people going to see him and be like, hey, how come The Witcher's like way smaller than The Witchers used to be?
I can't answer that question.
You don't know?
For you.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And I've lost interest after that second season where they were like left me behind. I was like, well, I'm not going to catch up, so I'm abandoning this project. But that's why a show like ours is so great, Dan, because they're all bottle episodes. Who gives a shit? There's no continuity. You don't have to know anything except that Stan is married to Francine and Steve loves the mail. That's it.
Alien. Roger has characters.
Roger has personas.
I think those are the load-bearing things. Yeah. Oh, personas, forgive me.
Yeah, and Haley loves basketball.
Haley loves basketball.
That's all you gotta know.
My show's also kind of a bottle episode kind of show.
Yeah. People are using that as their bus bench. They're like, well, I don't really follow politics and I need to know what's going on. Here's a show that makes it very easy for me to digest it. Man, that's some sad stuff, but we had some laughs along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all having a lot of fun until the show comes back, and we need to remind people that it's a continuing endeavor. And it didn't it's a very easy show because the season finale to us is meaningful. And like we usually do some kind of big stunt to do with it. But to an audience, they might not clock that as the season finale, or they might have missed this week, which was the season finale, and they might just like see it on YouTube with a different title that doesn't identify it as a finale. A couple weeks will go by. It's sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. They go on Sunday night and they don't see it, and they Google, is last week tonight on tonight? And AI is like, no. And they're like, well, guess the show's gone.
That's it. That's how when I was watching Rings of Power the first time, there's a very big moment in the first season where like Mordor is formed, this volcano in the middle of these terrible lands is formed, and it's done because these weird orc people conspire to make it happen. And I was like, oh wow, that's a pretty good ending to the season. Can't wait to see what happens next season. And then didn't ever check in on the show again until recently, and I was like, oh no, there was still like 5 more episodes in that season after that. But nobody told me.
Oh, television, get your act together, or don't. It doesn't seem. I mean,
doesn't matter.
I watched the two shows that I bring up as examples of shows that no one told me about. I watched them completely. I mean, something's working.
Yeah, you got there eventually. I wonder if they account for that now. Oh, I just got in the mail recently an opportunity to be this is connected, don't worry. This is connected. An opportunity to get a new investment checking account through Charles Schwab. No, I got in the mail an opportunity to be a Nielsen reviewer or a Nielsen reader.
Oh, shit.
I know. And I don't think it's probably a good idea.
You can have so much control. You can dictate what happens for the future of our industry.
My first thoughts were, I don't watch broadcast TV, and I think that it would be important for me and my job if I started.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have that kind of responsibility. My second thought was, I really like the streamlined look of both of where my televisions sit. Mm-hmm. I don't want some sort of clunky box there.
Little box, yeah. And Nielsen isn't okay with the honor system of you just like telling them what you're watching and what you like?
I can't tell. I even to like log in to even find out if I can do it, I have to use a QR code, and immediately I was like, that's a lot of work. I might have to put an app on my phone.
Oh, too many apps on phones. Forget it.
I wonder now, though, if Nielsen accounts for streaming or if it's only still broadcast television. Because if it was broadcast TV, I would have to change my lifestyle. I'd have to figure out how to get broadcast TV again and how to watch every syndicated episode of American Dad. Like, man, people in this area sure are watching a lot of American Dad. Our records show that within the Southern California area, it's the most popular show on television by
100% of families.
All right. Well, I do have one more question for you. It is unrelated. I'm trying to decide if I should even bring it up.
Yeah, I feel bad because I started this episode before we recorded, and I was like, Soren, I have nothing to say. And you were like, I have things to say. And then I steamrolled you with what felt like a pretty prepared rant.
About how cool Ethan Hawke is?
Viewers on YouTube will see me reading something on my screen. It's my scripted manifesto about how cool Ethan Hawke is in underwear.
He's very cool. I mean, just to go back to that for a second, he's had he's had some ebbs and flows to his career. There was a time when I thought Ethan Hawke was the most uncool person in the world. I think right around Great Expectations, I thought, who is this fucking sweaty, upper-lipped guy that they keep trying to force into movies as a leading man?
I don't recall him being forced as leading. I guess even when he was doing like Gattaca, a movie everyone in my family frequently likes to reference that I don't know has had the kind of pop culture penetration.
I think it has.
It has?
People know
Okay.
Gattaca, yeah.
Gattaca, even in that, when he's leading man, it still seemed like he is being kind of a weirdo. He's always been a little bit of a weirdo. It's rare for him to be like just straightforward action hero or romantic hero. Maybe I mean, I haven't seen Great Expectations, so I don't know. I just feel like he has somehow managed to hold on to some amount of indie cred for a truly unfathomable stretch of time.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think they were trying to turn him into something that was a little bit more vanilla than he could hit.
Yeah.
And it was, I think when I saw Reality Bites as a child, I was like, I don't particularly like this guy.
Yeah.
I found him unappealing, and alive. Like, he's in all these movies where he's just like, there's something unnerving about him that I couldn't totally put my finger on. There was like the pointedness of his lips and everything, and the way that his actions were, like his head bob and stuff was like really bothersome to me. Dead Poet Society is a great example. He just seemed kind of like a God. I hate using this word. Just seemed kind of like a wuss.
Sure.
And I was off put by that when I was young because I was looking for something a little bit more masculine and strong.
Where was The Witcher?
And I didn't care for him, and I've done a complete 180 on him throughout the rest. Since Training Day, I feel like since then I'm all about him. I think he's wonderful.
He's awesome.
Yeah, and he does horror movies all the time, which is like, I love that turn for a lot of current actors that they're like really prestige actors. They're like, and I also do horror because horror is fun.
Yeah, the what's his nuts? Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga doing 700 Conjurings at this point. It's just like that's nice of you guys. That's cool.
That's so sweet of you. Daisy Ridley, is that her name?
That's someone's name. Yeah,
she's in like a new horror movie that's coming out, and I was like, good for you. What a pivot.
Yeah,
what a pivot from Star Wars. Yeah, that he would do like Ethan Hawke did Sinister. He's in Black Phone or something. He's in The Purge.
He's in Black Phone 2. And like, I haven't seen it yet. It's written by a friend of the show, Robert Cargill. And Ethan Hawke like truly doesn't need to be in that. It's a guy in a mask. He doesn't need to be in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's just like, I'll do it. I'm Ethan Hawke. I like to work. I'll be guy in mask. Who cares? What a fucking pimp. Oh, he's so cool.
He is pretty cool. Last cool guy left on Earth. I think that's what we established.
That's what we're saying.
Well, Daniel, I was going to ask about your horrible, shitty Thanksgiving meal that you were planning, and I was all emotionally prepared to hear about the dumb shit you were going to eat without butter, but I think we're just going to pass on that for now.
Oh, do you want an amuse-bouche for a future episode?
Yeah.
And we're going to end it as soon as I say this. And it's going to, and like, Gabe, I want like an explosion or like a thundercloud or something like that. It turns out I might not be lactose intolerant after all.
Thank you for listening to the show, everybody. This has been Quick Question with Soren and Daniel. You knew that. If you liked our music, that's our theme song. That's by me, Rex. If you liked this podcast in general, that's by Gabe Harder. He's our sound engineer, producer, editor. If you want to see this podcast and you've only been listening to it, you can go check that out on YouTube. And if you like this podcast so much that you're like, I want more, go to our Patreon, become a Patreon subscriber, and you'll hear more episodes of this podcast that we do behind a wall. Goodbye.
I've got a quick question for you, alright? I wanna hear your thoughts, I wanna know what's on your mind. I've got a quick question for you, alright? The answer's not important, I'm just glad that we could talk tonight. So what's your favourite? Who did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it ever? Where did all the other weeks on? Oh, forget it. Soren, Bowie, Daniel O'Brien. Two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.